Welcome back to Chronic Health Solutions. Today we're going to be talking about exhaustion, not the I stayed up too late kind of exhaustion or the I'm a busy mom kind of exhaustion. I am talking about when you're a mom dealing with chronic illness and you have kids who don't sleep well. When your nights are unpredictable and you are unsure if your child is going to be waking you up again at 2 a.m. Healing can feel impossible whenever you cannot get consistent sleep. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Chronic Health Solutions. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have been where you are, battling chronic health symptoms and chronic illness, things like brain fog, joint pain, and fatigue that made me wonder if I'd ever feel like myself again. After uncovering root causes like stress, poor sleep, and hormone imbalance, I found simple health routines to begin to feel better, one simple habit at a time. Keeping up with your kids is not impossible. Pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time. Okay, today we're going to be talking about why broken or interrupted sleep can trigger such intense symptoms for you, how it can also be potentially creating that roadblock for your healing, and then also how we can support your body even whenever you are not getting that consistent sleep. And really, it feels like it's something that is out of your control. Before we get started though, I want to speak directly to the mom who is thinking, I know my sleep is a mess, but I cannot figure out how to fix it. I'm just at a loss as to what to do. If that is you, I want to offer you to come join me over for a one-on-one coaching session where we are going to create a plan that actually works with your real life, your kids, your symptoms, your nervous system, and the capacity that you have to put into healing. Let's figure out a plan that is going to give you some consistent, simple habits that you can add into your day to help you to begin to feel better again. For more details, you can go to ashleybraden.com/coaching, or you can find the link down in the show notes below. All right, let's get into it. I have had seasons in my life, and really a season recently, and this is kind of what brought up this episode for me, where I thought, I just don't feel like people understand how hard it is. I don't have children that are infants that, when you have newborns or infants or toddlers, you expect to be waking up multiple times throughout the night or not getting consistent sleep. But what about if you have a child who is neurodivergent and they just don't sleep well? It's very common. And, you have children who are past that toddler stage, but you are still not getting consistent sleep. And it can feel like people don't understand how hard it is to be out of that stage and still not sleeping well. What if it's that my child is waking up multiple times a night? I'm dealing with chronic illness symptoms, and then I'm also expected to function the next day like nothing happened. How am I supposed to focus on my healing whenever I cannot consistently get good rest? Because we know sleep is so important for our bodies and also for healing. And I've had these times where I have felt so frustrated and honestly hopeless in those moments. So tell me if this sounds familiar to you. It's these nights, or really it can be even the season of life, where you're half asleep, but you're still listening for your child because the chances are high that they are going to wake up. Your child wakes up in the middle of the night and then they cannot fall back asleep. Maybe your child does actually sleep through the night, but then you're paranoid because that's not your norm. So you're up in the middle of the night checking on everyone. It could be that bedtime is such a struggle and it takes forever to get everyone to sleep because a child has a hard time falling asleep or they have a lot of sensory needs at bedtime. It could be that anxiety or blood sugar crashes or anything like that hits in the middle of the night and keeps you or your child awake. And another thing that I've had happen before is if there's a child who doesn't sleep, but the other children do sleep, so your other children are on a normal schedule and they are waking up early, even though you have not gotten really any sleep. And what this ends up really totaling up to is that your body never fully rests. And then by 8 a.m., you are feeling behind and you are absolutely exhausted. And really, it's just the start of the day. It's not just being tired. Your nervous system is also stuck in that hypervigilance, and it's unable to shift into that deep recovery and that restoration phase. And that really does matter because we know that deep sleep is where your body is going to reduce inflammation, process stress, reset your cortisol, repair your immune system, restore your energy. And chronic illness moms can struggle to really get that consistent deep sleep, especially if you have a child waking up in the middle of the night. But I do want to share with you, like I always say, there's always something we can do. So there are ways to support your body, even on the days whenever sleep didn't happen. So let's talk about them. Before we dig into how we can really work on minimizing the effects that poor sleep is causing us, let's talk a little bit about why you might notice as a mom dealing with chronic symptoms or chronic illness that the lack of sleep is just hitting you a lot harder than you expected, or maybe even you notice a lot harder than others around you. You might have friends or family members who also don't get consistent sleep, but you notice that it just does not seem to affect them as much. I know between my husband and I, because he often will also get up and help with kids if they're not sleeping, and he just does not seem to have as many negative impacts on his body, especially immediately, as I do. He's more like if he's just consistently over a long period of time not getting good sleep, then he might notice those negative effects, whereas I'm more likely, even after just a couple of days, to end up having more of a flare-up with symptoms. So let's talk a little bit about why that could be. The first thing would be that often as moms battling chronic illness, we are really living at a higher baseline level of stress. And the thing to keep in mind is we typically aren't starting out with stress levels of 0, and most people aren't, but our bodies are working overtime from the moment, really all of the time, not from the moment we wake up, it's all of the time. So even on a good day, your brain could be juggling inflammation, it could be pain levels, it could be chronic fatigue, emotional overload, if you have sensory overstimulation. If you're like me, you might be battling some type of autoimmune stuff. And this means that your nervous system is staying more alert than the average person's would. So whenever on top of that, your sleep is light, it's interrupted, or it's inconsistent, your brain is just struggling to ever really drop into that really deep restorative phase of sleep where healing is going to happen. So the thing to keep in mind is whenever your tank, like your gas tank essentially, is already lower and it drains faster, it's no wonder that you notice you struggle a lot more. Another thing is that we often are struggling with hypervigilance, and this is additionally keeping your nervous system elevated. So when your brain is constantly scanning for needs, a child waking up, a potential meltdown, maybe it's just taking care of normal life stuff, especially if this is happening at night. Let's say everyone's asleep, but you are more prone to hear a pet bark or a dog bark outside, or just like a general noise of like the house settling. Then while you are technically asleep, your nervous system really isn't, because it's still kind of on that high alert, which is where you will often notice that you're sleeping more lightly and not getting into that deep sleep. And that's the thing we have to keep in mind is your body is not going to measure your sleep by the position you're in. For instance, lying down in bed, it's going to measure it by the safety that you feel in your surrounding and in your environment. So if your brain does not feel safe enough to fully let go and drop into that deep sleep, and so instead it stays in that light sleep, that's where you're going to notice, okay, I'm having less emotional recovery, less detoxification, less hormonal imbalance, or less hormonal balancing, less inflammation repair. And then you might also notice that you're having less dreaming and as well. So this is going to often leave you waking up feeling just exhausted and unrefreshed, even if you got 8 hours of sleep. The thing to keep in mind though is that when your body is constantly on alert, looking for any kind of danger or trying to protect you, then it really cannot heal. And a lot of times that's where that struggle can come in, because even on a night where potentially everyone sleeps well, your body is in that pattern of constantly looking for something to be wrong, or waiting for a child to come in, or waiting for whatever it is that you have now gotten into that pattern of doing. Okay, so the third reason why is because we know that inconsistent sleep does disrupt your cortisol levels. Cortisol is going to impact things like your energy levels, inflammation, your blood sugar, your mood, your digestion, and then also your immune system. So whenever sleep is broken or it's inconsistent, your cortisol really struggles to become predictable. And you might notice things like energy crashes. You can notice you're more irritable, you're more inflamed, and you don't know why. Maybe you didn't eat anything that would typically set you off or do anything, but you're just noticing that you're more inflamed. You might notice that you have more pain, more anxiety, more brain fog. You also might notice that you're feeling more wired but tired. And to me, that's where during the day you're feeling exhausted, but then at bedtime you're wired and you just cannot fall asleep. Okay, so these are really signs that your body needed that rest at night to regulate and it just couldn't do it. So then the next day, you're dealing with a lot of these symptoms because your body was never really able to reset. And the thing to keep in mind with this is a lot of times we can feel shame or guilt around this, but keep in mind that having this unpredictable energy levels because you're not getting consistent rest is not your fault. It's really to be expected. Okay, so let's talk about some different ways that we can focus on supporting your body whenever your sleep is just feeling out of control. The first thing is to really change how you approach your mornings. And I like to say, often as moms, we are getting up and just hitting the ground running. We're immediately pushing, going and doing everything we need to do. And whenever you've not had enough sleep, that is the last thing your body needs. It does not need you to push. It really needs nervous system safety. So instead of waking up and immediately pushing and going and rushing through the day, what if within that first hour you did something different and you instead focused on having a warm drink, preferably not with caffeine until you've had food. You focus on keeping the lights low around you, slow, gentle movement, not rushing, and then also getting a really nice but simple protein source to start your day. And this could be something that you don't have to think about, just, some type of a bacon, eggs, egg cups, maybe it's a smoothie with protein added to it, whatever works best for you. The thing about this approach is that it tells your brain that you are safe and you can start the day without rushing. Nothing's an emergency and everything is okay. And I have noticed that having that calmer start to the day can really help to prevent your cortisol levels from spiking up and then triggering that mid-morning crash or even that afternoon crash that often comes. Another thing to do is to reduce sensory input wherever it's possible. On the days where you are already sleep deprived, your brain's tolerance for things is just going to be lower. So you might notice that you are more sensitive to things. And it can be the time where you really want to focus on maybe having those bright lights off overhead or choosing a soft background noise, soft music, or silence to have in the background. It could also be making sure you're really trying to simplify all decisions that you have to make for that day. That could be making sure you're giving the kids like visual cues for the schedule so they're not constantly asking you what's coming next. It could also be that you're sticking with really easy meals that you don't have to think about or plan or put a lot of effort into, and that you're limiting your multitasking so your brain is not jumping from thing to thing and really getting exhausted at such a rapid rate because you are task switching so much. And the thing with these things is they're really small shifts, but they can just give your nervous system a little bit of a break, just enough of a break to help you to stay a little bit more regulated so your symptoms don't get worse or really overwhelm you. Okay, and then the last, I have a bonus one. So this will be number 3, and this is going to be to focus on really supporting your body's foundational systems. So when you're not getting that consistent sleep that's restoring your body, then putting extra focus on those healthy foundations is going to become even more important to help to stabilize and support your body. This is going to be things like making sure you're getting protein every 3 or 4 hours to prevent blood sugar dips and then also energy crashes. It's going to be making sure that you are hydrating so your body is well hydrated, and also that also additionally helps with detox. It also helps with like your lymph system. Another way to help with your lymph system is to focus on some gentle movement. I will say here, this is the day, if you're having a day where you didn't get a lot of sleep, that's the day where you want to focus on gentle movement only. We don't want to be pushing with really intense exercise because your body is already stressed. And while exercise is great, it is still a form of stress on your body. So if you can focus on things like stretching or slow walking, that's a great way to get that lymph flowing throughout your body, but also you're not taxing your body even more with intense workout. Another thing you can do is to focus on warm foods. These are easier to digest, which is going to save energy. Really, it's going to help to take some of that energy that your body would normally be putting out to digest your food, especially if you were eating something, let's say like a cold raw salad. It's able to put that energy somewhere else. Okay, then the last thing is to make space for rest. And I'm not saying you have to go take a 2-hour nap. I know a lot of times that is not feasible. But when you are sleep deprived, you cannot push your way into feeling better. And this is something that I've had to learn because it was a struggle for me. Sometimes we just have to accept that our body needs rest. And we have to find moments, even if it's just tiny little moments. They really do make an impact. So if you can't do a 2-hour nap, that's okay. What if you could do a 15-minute power nap? My personal opinion, I would prefer a power nap over a long nap really any day. I feel much better if I do like a 15 or 20-minute nap. It's not enough that's going to make you groggy, but it is enough that it's going to help to really give your body that little bit of rest that it needs. If you cannot do a nap, let's say you have children who it's just not feasible for you to take a power nap, then what if you at least spent 15 or 20 minutes in a chair resting? Sit down, let your shoulders drop away from your ears, take some deep breaths, and then, you can either have your eyes open or closed. If you need to watch a kid, that's okay. But if you can close your eyes, that's even better. And just take 15 to 20 minutes to just give your body some time to rest and restore. These little pauses are going to help to calm your nervous system. It's going to help to keep your energy from crashing and spiraling as well. The thing we have to remember when we are not getting enough sleep is that rest is not optional. It is the way our body repairs. And so while we're trying to figure out how we can help our child to sleep at night, we have to also figure out small ways to prioritize rest throughout our day for us as well. All right, friends, that is all I have for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would love to hear from you. If you are struggling with a child who does not sleep and you have found some little ways to help you to try to regulate your sleep or to try to get your body to rest when you're in this difficult season, then please share with me. Come join us over in our Facebook group. I will have that linked down in the show notes below, or you can reach out to me via email or social media. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you back next time. Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.